Hi there folks, my name's Novoid24 and welcome to another little review for Aerofly FS2. So this is not a platform that I spend a lot of time in, but I must admit that as it's becoming sort of more explored and more developers are starting to take it on, it's a platform that I'm becoming more curious about, especially for where it's possibly heading for the future. But so we are here today for the very recent release of Just Flight, bringing out their first experimentations in Aerofly FS2 with their Beechcraft Duchess. So before we get too far into this, I do want to say a quick thank you to the wonderful team over at Just Flight for providing me with the review copy of this aircraft today. It's going to be interesting for me because, as I said, I got the chance to review the one for the ESP platforms in Prepared recently. And I hope to get a copy and possibly going to look at the one in X-Plane as well in the near future as well. But it's very interesting that this was the aircraft that they chose to bring over into Aerofly FS2 first. So first of all, I suppose I definitely want to sort of have a look and sort of go through here. So obviously, we do have the same sort of high quality sort of external 3D model that we saw as part of the ESP variant. So that's definitely as much as come through here. Probably the only thing to note that's sort of majorly different is that when you are on the ground here and sort of shut down, is that you do have, or rather don't have, the ground equipment sort of around the wheels, the chocks and the tie downs and that kind of stuff. So as far as I'm aware, there is no way to actually enable that. Otherwise, though, the 3D model is still very well done. It's very high quality. Complete with your pilot in there as well in his interesting tartan vest there. He's got that one. So yeah, we're going to be sort of going through here, have a look at this one, and we're going to take it out for a test flight to see how it goes. Because one of the things that I always struggled with Aerofly FS was the fact that sometimes the way the aircraft flew and sort of the actual sort of avionics and the setup of the aircraft was left a little bit to be desired. But we're going to see what it's like here today and see how Just Flight have gone integrating into this sim. Now, interestingly enough, we will also be flying over the Netherlands today. We'll be taking a sort of a bit of an IFR or instrument practice flight today. We're going to be heading from here in Rotterdam at the moment, and we're going to be heading north up into Den Helder airfield. We're going to hopefully conduct an ILS approach there to test that as well. But yeah, that's coming through us, and of course that scenery is brought to us from the guys over at Orbx Netherlands True Earth for Aerofly. So now this is done not in VR, as you can probably tell. This is just done in just with my track IR. So but otherwise it does look like it would be pretty good in VR. Alright, without further ado, let's sort of continue on the review. So the 3D model, as I said, the external one, pretty much the same. So you got beautiful high definition liveries here. Interestingly enough, there are fewer liveries with this version than there are with the ESP one. I don't know whether that's deliberate or not, but there is only the European and American liveries made it into this. The Australian and New Zealand liveries were not included in this release. I'm not sure why, but it was interesting that these were removed from the Aerofly FS2 release. Other than that, external model is still the same. Something that's, again, and now this is probably just an observation because it's probably just a sim thing, but you can't open the doors from the outside of the aircraft like you can in Prepared. I don't know if you can or not in X-Plane. I think that's a sim limitation, so not anything that Just Flight's done. I think it's just a sim limitation, that one. But otherwise, looking at beautiful high definition model. So what we might do is we might jump into the cockpit, and then we'll get ourselves underway, get the aircraft started up, and move it into the air. Alright, so here we are in the office of the Duchess. Now, of course, the Duchess was designed as a twin-engined instrument flight trainer and country tourer. So there's a 4-person tourer, so he is probably set up with to be a fairly docile aircraft to handle, but also equipped with a full avionics suite to be able to conduct IFR operations for IFR practices. Now, we saw them pull this off very well. I thought they pulled it off quite well in the ESP platforms, and we'll have to see how they do here. So as I said, we're going to be testing our flight plan today. Has us going over a couple of VORs, so we're going to test it and to see how we go with that performance. Now, you may have noticed those green boxes in the sky. So that's also because what I've done is actually inputted my intended flight plan into the sim here as well, so we're going to be able to have a look at it, and we'll see how we track while we're tracking our VORs along the way. We can actually have that visual cue as well. Actually, I might just need to quickly go adjust the altitude of that flight plan, I think. 1 second. So it would seem that you can't actually set the altitude of your flight plan in Aerofly FS2. I thought you could, but apparently you can't. Never mind. Anyway, moving on. Alright, so I guess we should probably get ourselves started now. Let's see how we go. Now, as I said, I'm pretty sure I remember the most of the starting checklist for this one. So let's get my track IR going. Okay, so first things first, let's close our door. Alright, now we'll hide the yoke there. So it's great to see that so that feature at least is still present. Alright, I got my parking brake on, prop up, fuel lever mixture rich. Okay, going to open up the cowl flaps. Okay, turn the battery master on. Now, the avionics came up straight away. Okay, so these do work. That's good to know. So that's interesting. So, okay, that's all right. We'll go back to this one. All right. Power on, low voltage warning as expected. That's fine. All right. First thing is put our nav and strobe lights on to let anybody know on the ground. I still say that is actually one of the things that's actually still a little frustrating about this sim, is the fact that there is no life, there is no AI traffic, as it were, giving your airfield a bit of life, which is a bit of a shame, really. But anyway, okay. Oh, I wonder if. So yeah, so it does actually include. It shows it does input our route into the GPS, which is cool. Now, what we might do while we're here, actually, we'll get our engine started first before we start mucking around with that. All right. So first things first. Okay, strobes on. All right, open up the fuel valves. Fuel pumps are on. All right, crack the throttles a little bit, crack the left throttle a little bit. All right, and start. Oh, okay. I think I am. No, we should be good. Prime the engine. Started. Left alternator on. There we go. Alright, and of course now's the turn for the right engine. Crack the throttle on that one a little bit. Prime that one. Up and running as well. Okay, excellent. Right alternator on. Alright, taxiing and landing lights on. I must say seems a little noisier in Aerofly than it does in the ESP platforms. So, alright, okay. Anyway, alright, so Peter heat on, Autopilot, we will be using that, electric trim on. Alright, so what we might do is we might set up some of our avionics setup, because we're going to, as I said, we're going to be going over a couple of VORs. Now we're departing on to 1 to start with today, and then we'll sort of be turning back over the field for our first waypoint of our first VOR, which is here at Rotterdam. So what we might do is we'll set our VOR. So the first one we've got to set is 110.4. There we go. Okay. And this one after that is going to be SPL, which is 108.4. 108.4, so that one's ready to go. We'll turn the nav1 events king there to the DME readout. We'll turn that on as well. Now, what I might do is I'm actually going to put the ILS frequency in for our final leg into our nav2, because we'll be using that on our OBS2 down here. We're using the ILS down there, I think, later on. So we're going to need 108.9. There we go. Put that one in the active, right? Because it's going to be too far away, so it's not going to pick up anything at the moment. Alright, I think that should be us. We'll probably take it off 7,000. We'll just, something a little different today. Alright, okay. I think we are good. I wonder if the weather radar works. We'll test that. We've got a few clouds out there, so we'll test that once we're up in the sky. Alright, engine is warmed up nicely. And the levers, the RPM indicators are separate. That's good. Alright, let's do RPM check. Seeing the drop in those, excellent. And look for the same here. Not as big a drop, but we still saw the drop. Excellent. Okay, alright. I think we are good for our taxi down the runway. I feel like that doesn't look like it's fully in place. It is, but it doesn't feel like it is. But anyway. Alright, okay. I think that is time for us to... Now, just have a look here. Alright, okay. Put that one back into place for now. Take our parking brake off. And we can commence our taxi. A few Dash 8s over there behind us. So I believe this airport isn't a specific add-on airport, this one. This one is sort of as part of the FTX's, Orbx's True Earth Netherlands. You get a better rendition of quite a few of the airfields. So it'd be kind of cool to actually sort of get that, which is awesome. Taxi down this way. Enjoy some of the scenic visual flyby views of Aerofly as we go through. I always have mixed feelings about the photoreal terrain. Like, I know that that's the big sort of attraction of, especially of X-Plane and Aerofly, is that it's all built using photoreal. But I definitely feel that this Orbx True Earth stuff would sort of build with how it builds that photoreal with the 3D autogen as well. So it gives it that sort of edge above, say, like the default sort of scenery that comes with Aerofly. Although it's, it's fairly high resolutions, sort of aerial imagery, it still sort of, it always feels a bit bland when it doesn't have the buildings and the scenery in there. So yeah, I think that this sort of True Earth stuff, I think this is where it really sort of does sort of work so well. I must admit, I think I prefer it in Aerofly than I do it in ESP. It just seems that Aerofly really seems to handle... I mean, I know we're reviewing the Justified thing, but it's an interesting observation. I think that Aerofly seems to handle the requirements of the photoreal, extensive photoreal that you get as part of the Orbx True Earth series. Seems to handle it far better than ESP or even X-Plane does, which is kind of interesting. As I said, it's just an observation. Maybe it's just a thought of mine, but it seems to be just an observation. So anyway. through a few of the fun views there. Alright. Probably taxiing a little fast there, but anyway. Alright, so I think we've got pretty much nearly at the end of the taxiway there. Turning off the runway shortly and start our departure. It just looks like the lights are on. I don't know why, but it looks like the lights are on. But anyway, maybe the lights are on and nobody's home. Alright, so we have, so just checking, we got the alternators on, fuel full, everything looking as it should be, always good. Interesting little quirk with this aircraft actually, I just wanted to point it out. Now, I know that you saw that we started at cold and dark. Now, what's interesting is that I don't know how they've managed to do it, but what they've managed to do it is so that it will actually recognize whether you start. So in Aerofly, you can actually sort of choose your starting location, like you can with all the sims. So you click on an airport, that you click whether you want to start at like a runway threshold, whether you want to start in the air on approach, or whether you want to start at a parking spot if the airfield has been modelled with parking spots. What's interesting is that what Just Flight have done, and this is kind of cool, is that if you choose the in-air or at runway threshold starting spots, it will be set up, fully engine running, ready to fly. However, if you choose a parking space, it will come in, and it will come in as cold and dark. And I'm like, that's a really cool piece of, I don't know how they managed to do it. I'm sort of fascinated. I haven't really looked into the SDK much, but I'm like, that's a really neat and cool little way of actually sort of doing it. If you just want to fly, that's fine. Just pick a runway threshold and you can jump straight in and fly. But if you want to go through the startup sequence like we just did, then just pick a parking spot and it will do it for you. So that's really kind of cool. As I said, I really kind of like that. Alright, we're back to taxi onto the runway here. Let's head out here. Alright, I was about to say we'll look for traffic, but again, unfortunately, it's one of the, as I said before, that's one of the few drawbacks I find to Aerofly is the fact that there is no sort of AI traffic or ambient life there. But anyway, alright, turn on to our runway now. We've got our displaced threshold here. It's fine for our takeoff roll. Alright, we've done our pre-takeoff checks before. Flaps up. Ready to go. Power up. It's definitely not as squirrely on the ground as the SP1 was. Looks like the procedures have us doing a right turn departure. Yeah, we gotta turn those fuel pumps off now. I must admit, it's one of the kind of cool and interesting things that is built into this. The flight planner that's built into Aerofly does actually make reference and make use of approach charts that are sort of integrated into it. So it's very interesting. Like, you can take a bit more direct control if you want to. Like as I've set the various VORs we're going to be flying over today. But it's interesting that it does sort of actually add in the various waypoints based on actual approach charts, which is, I suppose, it's good for any of those who do enjoy reliving those actual sort of approaches and stuff. Not so much important for those of us in this flight today, but it's just something, again, one of those interesting things I noted about the platform as I was sort of experimenting with this aircraft today. VOR is just near the end of the airfield. That one, there we go. Cutting the corner off the inbuilt flight path there. Now, what we'll do is quickly put the autopilot on, attitude, and on a heading hold. Now, next step is we're going to be changing over to our next VOR, which is the RTM VOR one. So sorry, it's the 108.4, the SPL VOR. Let's swap that over. Alright, now we want to let's have a look. Oh. There we go, in line. So what we'll do now is we'll switch that over to nav. Be able to hold altitude hold in there at 5,000 feet. I think the inbuilt flight plan probably has us going up to about 6,000 or 7,000. I think 5,000 is a nice altitude to be able to sit at and enjoy the scenery there. Okay, so far, and we've captured the nav, looks like, so we'll get back onto track shortly. Now, I haven't tried to see GPS. Now down here it does have the two lights. Now in the ESP version that would show whether it's using nav or GPS to drive the information, which also on a Garmin is done by the CDI here. But it doesn't actually tell me at the bottom there. So it'd be interesting to possibly try swapping that over shortly. Alright. So, okay, and altitude holds. 5,500 feet. So apparently I didn't set it properly. So going straight from attitude to altitude didn't work. I had to double set the altitude. Alright, I think we can drop it back in for cruise. Bring our manifold pressure down to back to about, it's probably about 20, let's go about 21 on the manifold pressure. We'll bring back the prop pitch a little bit. Prop on top, I was always taught by a couple of flight instructors. And we can bring back mixture as well. Now, one thing that I wasn't sure whether it was just my test flight, but that just proved it, is that I think this is possibly my first bugbear of this aircraft. At least this version of it anyway. So we're now running the throttle at probably, you know, around about 50% throttle, around 50%. So there definitely should have been a change in engine pitch. Now we reduced the prop, so we've reduced the manifold pressure, we've reduced the RPM of the prop and everything else, and it's just we've still got the same constant high power sort of high power, high prop drone and thrum. So, which is fine when I'm on the takeoff roll and at full power, but it doesn't really apply when I'm now here in cruise. So it's interesting that that sort of sound set change didn't get picked up by the sim. What is picked up is the fact that when you open that, it does get louder. So that's kind of cool. I appreciate that. So there's that element there. It's just interesting that this part is not model. I don't know. As I said, it's definitely something that was in the ESP version that was correct, but it's just interesting that it's not here in the Aerofly version. So. Otherwise, I mean, from what I can tell, all the avionics work, the autopilot's working as it should. We've got the autopilot's working as it should. Our navigation system seems to be working fine, so we're going to be changing over to another VR shortly now. So we've got our DME, so we've got 14 nautical miles to go here at the moment on our towards our next destination now. So I'm going to have a look. So it looks like, yep, we are heading about on our course. Probably could go a couple of degrees to the right. Couple of degrees to the right to get ourselves in line, so let the aircraft correct that. So definitely, yeah, the nav capture definitely works fine as expected. That's good. Okay. So working now. Quick wonder if so it's turned on. So it seems now, I wonder if it's, let's have a look. Well, it, just double checking the manual, it doesn't say that it doesn't work, but I suppose it's the weather radar is also there to show precipitation, and we don't have any precipitation today. We've got cloud, but no precipitation, so maybe. Anyway, we'll see. So this is it. Just other than that, really, I think it's just that sound. I think it's the thing, but otherwise, yeah, I said the avionics work as they're supposed to. Everything else seems to be fine. Let's try switching over. So the GPS functionality is turned off, so that doesn't seem to work. So that's good to know. So I guess that's probably something to know for that one, is that although it is modeled and is clickable, and definitely the comm and the nav radios work to drive COM1 and drive nav1, it doesn't actually model the GPS functionality there, so that's probably a good thing to know. I wonder if anything else is. Alright, so we're just about to come over our, we've got about 1 mile to go, so that means we're going to be moving on to next one, which is 113. 113.3 is our next one. So what, 1 nautical mile to go, so let's changing that one, so let's change that to the active one now. So definitely the navigation, yeah, the ILS definitely, the radio navigation system is definitely working as it's supposed to, so that's good. Exactly what we wanted to test. So we're we've now passed it over over Schiphol, over the multiple runways there down there at Schiphol, and we're heading now, continuing to head north of the airfield. So that probably gives us a good chance now that we can actually go explore the outside of the aircraft. I might just switch that fuel into crossfeed. While we do that as well, put those tanks into crossfeed. Looks like we're pretty much on path on our GPS track. Good. Okay. Awesome. All right. Let's have a look at the outside of the aircraft now that we're back in the air. So again, as we sort of saw before, it's really got the beautiful sort of texturing going on through here for the aircraft. Definitely looking quite nice. Again, the high definition, the high quality model that's come through from the guys over at Just Fly. Not really much to go through here. Again, really noticing that there seems to be no sort of cone on the sound. The sound's very sort of monotone. Now, I don't know whether that's a limitation of the sim, but otherwise, as I said, I can't fault the model, the external model. I think it's just possibly the sound set. But again, that may be something that's a limitation of the sim rather than the actual add-on itself. Either way, it's looking pretty damn at home here over Orbx's True Earth Netherlands here in Aerofly. Should probably come back here with a with the Robinson actually. See if I can land on some of the ships in here. I wonder if any of the oil rigs have been modelled offshore as well. That would be kind of cool if they were. That would be kind of cool. We should go check it out. I must admit that when I was doing some testing of this early, just to sort of get myself familiar with it, see the basics, I did buzz more than a few windmills when I was down there in the weeds. I will happily admit that for sure. All right, well I think we might take a bit of a break here because as I said, yeah, it's looking pretty reasonable. As I said, I can't really fault it too much. The model looks great as it should do, but yeah, I just feel that maybe the sound set's losing it now. So we go through for our final direction change and heading towards our airport. Alright, so we're just about a nautical mile over the SPY VOR, so we're going to have to program in our next VOR, which is HDR, so it's Dan Helder. So we're looking for 115.55. Go. Right. BOR starting to freak out a bit. There we go. Hit that cone of confusion over the top of the VOR as we picked it up and switched it over. Alright, so the next one that we're going to be programming in, once we get there, is we're going to be programming in the ILS, which will be 108.9. So we'll program that one in now. And just quickly, I just went back and rechecked some documentation. So turns out that it is acknowledged that the GPS unit here is, although it's fully clickable, the only parts that are actually modeled at the moment is the moving map display, which is the same one that is available as a pop-up menu on here. Interesting enough, it does still integrate the standard Sims HUD unit, that sort of HUD unit, so that is available if you do want to have that, so just using the hotkeys. But otherwise, this unit is only it does only have that functionality. Interestingly enough, though, it still talks about that you're able to set it and actually have it set it over to GPS nav, even though you can't actually change it over. So I don't know whether that's just an oversight in the manual. So I mean, it's good to say that the manual at least acknowledges that the GPS functionality is limited to just showing the moving map. It doesn't actually have GPS, but it's interesting that it still says that the GPS can drive the autopilot, even though you can't change the mode. So that was an interesting sort of look in the manual. Maybe just a manual just needs to be revised, but yeah, otherwise at least it's good to see that, you know, it wasn't just me imagining it, it is actually not functional at the moment due to a limitation of the sim. So at least we know that one there. Alright, I think that's pretty much about it now, so I think we'll just we'll leave that one. We'll enjoy the sights of True Earth Netherlands True Earth in Aerofly FS2 as we head towards our final destination airfield of Den Helder, and we'll rejoin this video as we go past the airfield and probably as we start to turn onto our approach on the ILS. So probably one of the things that we probably should check out as well is the lighting. So one of the things that's interesting with Aerofly FS2 is the fact that you can sort of adjust the time of the sim very, very easily. So I want to try lighting up. Here we are. Increase that. Okay. So we'll just have to see what the lighting looks like, so we can just sort of zip through time here. So I must admit that the night lighting internally is pretty good. I think that's pretty good. I like that. The other thing I like as well is the fact that Orbx has sort of actually put some night lighting in some of the major streets and whatever, which you don't get a lot of during some of the default stuff, which is kind of cool. That's good. However, bugbear that I have, and probably showcase this better once we're on the ground, is that the lights of the aircraft don't actually illuminate the actual ground, which is a bit unfortunate, really. But anyway, all right, let's bring it back to daylight though. While we come through here, there we are. That's about right. All right. So we've done my descent checks. We've got fuel tanks fully open. We've got cowl flaps closed, carburetor heat on. We've got our mixture full rich, prop full forward. Just adjusting the throttles. Going to watch the turn here to get back onto our ILS course. So I set our nav 1 and 2 onto 210 is the runway heading there. Following the waypoints here to sort of turn the aircraft. Hopefully should be coming on a nice descent. Now I can definitely see already that they both picked up, so I have them both tuned to 108.9, so yes, we have them both picked up. Currently checking on nav 2 there that I'm heading away from the airport, which is right. All procedures here. Speed a little bit, watch our descent. Just lower that descent rate a little bit. So definitely have to say that the modelling is quite nice. Texturing is really, really well done. It's just, and it is actually one of the things that I really like about Aerofly FS2 is just visually, it's so silky smooth. Like it is just so incredibly silky smooth. And that's something that is just really, really, I still notice to this day, is that it is incredibly silky smooth in terms of its graphical capabilities. And having a developer like Just Flight come on board with an aircraft that they've proven works very well on the ESP and the X-Plane 11 platforms, you should be seeing that it actually hopefully continues to grow. Just need to get a few other sort of sim things just need to come into it now, like traffic, AI traffic, multiplayer, got all those things. So Aerofly, get on that, because those things are kind of important. last of the boxes there. Just watching for the tracking needle to come across now. Yep. High on the glide path. Shot a little bit. Okay, bring it back. Drop that power back. Too far over. Gear down. Just pop up my moving map there, just to give me a bit more of a view there. Remember there was a piece of technology that I read about, which unfortunately it turns out, apparently it didn't end up getting off the ground, which is a shame. It's something called Aeroglass, which was actually would actually give you a lot of give civilian pilots things like, you know, essentially a visual map overlay, sort of, you know, a pair of glasses that you'd wear. We could actually sort of have them overlaid, have airspaces and ILSs and stuff like that overlaid. Like that would be cool. Alright. 6 miles from threshold. Wait, is that an animated boat I see down there? No, can't be. Only issue I seem to have is that the glide slope information seems to be not showing up on the ILS, which is because I definitely should be under the glide slope. That would be why. I need to follow the needle, not draw away from the needle. Never mind. There we go. That's better. Don't mind me, folks. It's been a hot minute since I've done an instrument approach. There we go. That's better. Now we're back on glide slope. Back on glide slope. Second notch flaps. Looking good. Correcting a little bit. A little too steep of a descent. Final notch. Disbrace threshold. I think the PAPIs are set for a non-displaced threshold, I think. Down and rolling out. So definitely notice, actually, just with that engine pitch I was saying before, like, it seems that, you know, when you idle it, it sort of has a difference, but otherwise, as soon as you put any power on, it sort of just has that, like, full throttle pit thrum to it, which is sort of not what I thought would be right. So, interesting. Alright, so taxi over to the ramp over there, I think. Should we park in front of this building here with all the helicopters? I think we shall. Let's park here. I think this sounds good. Alright. Parking brake on. Okay, so before we shut down, let's have a look at the lights. So we've got all our lights on here, so we'll just fast forward the time. So again, we can see the lighting on the aircraft, and it's quite well done, but unfortunately doesn't actually sort of reflect anywhere on the ground, which is, it was an issue. That was an issue in the old flight sim world as well. So I don't know whether this is just flight specific. I think this is a sim limitation. But yeah, it's just, again, sim limitation, not just flight's fault. But yeah, frustrating nevertheless. Still though, like the lights on in the buildings behind though. Good work, Orbx. All right, back to some daylight, and let's shut this aircraft down, shall we? Okay, so right, finally through. Let's go our shutdown checks here. Alrighty, so throttle to idle, and we've got carb heat off. Okay, prop fine, mixture off, fuel pumps off, fuel closed. Okay, avionics off. Alright, that one. Trim, autopilot, pitot heat off. Alternators off. Strobe, nav, lights off. Magnetos to off. And battery master to off. Right. There we go. Okay, let's pop outside for some final thoughts, shall we? So, overall, what do I think? So, as I said, look, I really like the aeroplane. Like, I like the Duchess. I think that Just Flight have done a really good rendition of it, and I think this is, again, they've continued their high standard of work. But I have to say that I have to thank them, and I have to say congratulations to them for actually exploring into the world of Aerofly. It's a world that a lot of people are unsure of at the moment, and I don't blame them. I'm still a little bit perplexed by it as well, but it's it's a sim that's driven by passion, and I think that that's an important part of this. And the fact that there is a passion in that team, and they're bringing new sort of changes and things forward, I think that's a really good way to go. And it's really great to see Just Flight getting on board and actually supporting that future as well. I think that's great to see as well. Alright, so things to note about it. And again, a lot of the things that I'm going to say here are issues with the sim. So the lighting on the ground, that's an issue with the sim. The not being able to change the fuel, weight and balance, again, that's a sim limitation, not an add-on limitation. But what did they get right? They got the dynamics are right, the aircraft feels right, the navigation system works as best as it can within the limitations of the sim. And overall, just feels like a great way to fly and a great way to sort of do the touring around some of the places you can do inside of Aerofly FS2. So I have to say, really great work, guys. I think the only bugbear I have that I have to note is that sound set. Again, now that one, I don't know if it's a limitation on the sim, but I think there's something a bit skewy with the sound set on there, whether it's just a setting somewhere, I don't know. And also a bit odd that some of the liveries that were in the ESP and X-Plane version did not make their way into the Aerofly and the Aerofly FS2 version. But other than that, great work, guys. Well done. Alright, folks, well, that does round out this review video of the Just Flight Duchess 76 for Aerofly FS2. Thank you very much for joining me. I do want to say a huge shout out to Just Flight to say thank you very much to them for providing me with the review copy of this aircraft today. Now, if you do want to grab this one's available currently from the Just Flight web store, available now from Just Flight. Alright, folks, well, that rounds out this video. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget, as always, to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And, of course, you can catch up with me and all the things I'm up to between videos by finding me on Facebook and on Twitter. Just search NovaWing24. Alright, folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.